Okay guys, this is Math 1, Day 2. This is what your worksheet looks like, okay? Okay, so let's look at the first problem. So the first problem, let's see if you could see that. Let me make it a little bit bigger. So it's f of x equals 6 times 2 to the x power, and x equals 3. So that x equals 3, so you're going to plug that 3 into the x, okay? So for the next line here, we're just going to put 6 times 2 to the third power. And what that is it is 6 times 2 times 2 times 2. And that's going to give you 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. And then 6 times 8 is 48. Okay, so here's B. We have g of x equals 45 times 3 to the x power, for x equals -2. So we do the same thing. So 45 times 3 to the -2. So when we have negatives, they turn into fractions. So we have 45 times 1/3 times 1/3. So we're going to end up with 45 times 1/9, because 1/3 times 1/3 is 1/9. And then we put the 9 on the bottom, okay? So 9 goes into 45 5 times. Okay, let's look at number 2. So for number 2, we have complete the table and graph the function f of x equals 3x. So let's look at what I have here. So I went ahead and made the table, okay? So I have the table. And so what do you do when there is nothing in the first place, okay? When there is no starting value or the y-intercept, you're going to put a 1. So you're going to rewrite it. F of x equals 1 times 3 to the x power, okay? And your starting value goes at 0. So I'm going to put the 1 right here, okay? So there's my 1, okay? And then we plug in the x's. These are your x's right here, okay? You're going to plug those in to this x here, okay? So I always start with the easy ones, okay? So if we come over here, we're going to start with this one here, okay? So we're just going to plug this in over here. 3 to the first power is just 3. So we can write 3 there, okay? 3 to the second power is 9, okay? And then 3 to the third power is 27. I'm going to move this. I'm kind of at an angle right now. And then now we're going to go to the negatives, okay? So remember that negative exponents is a fraction, so that's 1/3, okay? And then the next one is 3 to the second, or -2 power, and that's 1/9. So you'll plug that in there, okay? So that's 1/9. Okay, so for number 2, you have a graph. So let me find that. I'm trying to see, where did I put that graph? Is it here? It might be this one. Might not be. Okay, so let's just look at this here, okay? Let's go back to this one. So we'll look at this one, okay? It's kind of small, so it's kind of hard to do, but we'll make it through, okay? So let me put this paper here so we can see our numbers, okay? So remember that this is x and this is y, okay? So let's start with 0. Okay, we'll start right here. So 0x is right here, and we're going to go up 1. Okay, we'll put a dot there. And then 1, 3. So this is 1, and we're going to go up to 3 here. Okay, and then 2 is 9. So 2 is going to go all the way up to here. And then 3 is 27, which goes way up here, okay? So it goes off of the chart, okay? And then -1 up here is 1/3. 1/3 of 1 is barely above the line, okay? So I'm just going to put a dot on the line. And then 1/9 is even smaller, so I'm just going to put that on the line. And then you're going to connect those dots, okay? And just going to draw it, okay? So it's going to go up like that, okay? And you'll do yours neater, I'm sure, okay? All right, so let's look at the next problem here. So we have complete the tables and graph in different colors, both f of x, 1/2, 3 x, and g of x equals 2 times 3 to the x. Okay, so anyway, we'll go through it. Okay, so let's just do one problem at a time. So we're going to look at this one first, and then we'll do this one, okay? So if we look at the first one, it is f of x equals 1/2 times 3 to the x power. Okay, so we've got our chart here, okay? And this is, if you remember, this right here is the chart I'm talking about, okay? So these numbers, if you're wondering where do we get these numbers, it's right on your worksheet, okay? So what I'm doing is I'm plugging in each and every one of these numbers for x, okay? So again, if we start with the y-intercept, or the starting value is 1/2. So that goes right there, okay? So the 1/2 goes by the 0. Whatever's here always goes by the 0, okay? Then for 1, I just plug this in. So I have 1/2 times 3 equals 1/2 times 3. I like to do it this way because it just makes it easy for my brain to do it. Okay, so I just multiply across, and then I have 3 over 2, which is 1.5, because 2 goes into 3 one time with 1 left over, bottom stays the same. So 1.5 or 1.5. Okay, so for number 2, we have 1/2 3 to the second equals. So we have 1/2 times 3, which equals 1/2 times 9. And again, I put the 1 underneath there. I multiply across, and I get 9 over 2. And when I convert that, I get 4.5 or 4.5. Okay. For the next one, we have a -1. Okay. So remember, that's a fraction. So this 3 turns into a 1/3. Okay. So I have 1/2 times 1/3 equals, multiply across, 1/6. I'm going to put that there. Okay. And then the last one, 1/2 times 3 to -2. So I have 1/2 times 1/3 times 1/3. 1/3 times 1/3 is 1/9. Okay. So 2 times 1/9 is 1/18. And I put that there. Okay. So then that's when you're going to graph. Okay. So in one color, you're doing this, okay? So I'm going to use blue, okay? And all I did was 0 is right here, and I went up 1/2, okay? Then I went to 1, and I went 1.5. Then I went 2, and I went 4.5. Then I went back to my negatives here, and I went negative is 1/6, so it's like barely above the line. It's not just 1/6 of 1, so it's a tiny bit. And then -2 is pretty much hardly anything, so it's pretty much on the line. So you have it like that. So you're going to have yours all on, yours will be like this, okay? And then, but I did mine separate, okay? So here's the second part of it, okay? So now we have g of x equals 2 times 3 to the x power, okay? And then, so we have these numbers here that are on your worksheet, okay? And we are responsible for filling out these numbers here, okay? So we see what's here, okay? And that always goes by the 0, okay? And then now we start plugging them in. So let's go here. 2 times 3 is 6. So we put 6. 2 times 3 to the second power is 2 times 3 times 3. So 9 times 2 is 18. Okay, so that goes here. And then we'll go to our negatives right here. So 2 times 3 to the negative 1. Remember, it turns to a fraction. So 2 over 1 times 1/3, multiply across, is 2/3. Okay? And then for the last one, we have 2 times 3 to the negative 2. So it's 2 times 1/3 times 1/3. Again, this is 1/9 times 2, multiply across 2. And 1 times 9 is 9. Okay, and then you're going to graph this. So 0 is at 2. 1 is at 6. 2 is at 18. Where's 18? Oh, it went off. Okay, I didn't leave myself enough room. But anyway, it would be like up here somewhere. And then back here, you're just dealing with fractions. So for negative 1 is 2/3, not quite 1. And then 2/9 is hardly anything. And you want to make sure you do it. If you don't have different colors, then that's okay. Just use what you have at home. Okay, so I'll use a different color. Okay, so on your paper, you'll have 2 of these lines. Okay, so they'll be, this isn't probably right, but anyway, you'll see it'll be kind of like that. Okay, so that is it for day 2. Okay, so if you have any questions, let me know, and I'll talk to you guys later. Okay, bye.